Okay, I am going to get into another course from the teaching company called the New Testament. Before I do, I want to revisit Luke Timothy's Luke Timothy Johnson's course called Jesus and the Gospels one last time, because there's something here is very important that I think needs to be discussed. Professor Johnson says it has never been the historical Jesus who has served as the motivating force for anything except during his lifetime, but rather the Jesus who is inscribed in these Gospels. This is bizarre. This is insane. I mean, why? What makes him think, or how does he know that the historical Jesus is not the one inscribed in the Gospels? He's just introducing that arbitrarily out of the air. It's totally contrived. If it's a self-contradicting idea too. That, in other words, if he knows that the historical Jesus is unattainable, then how does he know that he's not described in the Gospels? Because he's saying he doesn't know who the historical Jesus is. Well, that doesn't mean that it's not the one in the Gospels just because he doesn't know that. How is he making this assumption? It's totally off the wall. It makes no sense. Why is he assuming that they're two different, that the historical Jesus and the one inscribed in the Gospels is different? There's absolutely no reason to do that. It's bizarre, but this is what takes me beyond just saying the teaching company is a little sloppy. I think they really do have an agenda. They're constantly attacking biblical Judaism, which of course is what's known as Christianity. I want to get into some more the New Testament now. Okay, this is an excerpt from the New Testament lecture I was telling you about. From this guy's name is Ehrman, Professor Ehrman, I believe. And here's what he says about the Pharisees. This is a very specific example of misguided thinking. Pharisees have been widely misunderstood. Again, in modern Christian circles, many people associate the term Pharisee with hypocrite. In fact, in some modern dictionaries, one of the tritary definitions of Pharisee is hypocrite, which is an interesting designation when you think about it. It would be comparable to having a dictionary in 2,000 years defining Episcopalians as drunkards or Baptists as adulterers. Of course, there are probably drunkards among Episcopalians and adulterers among Baptists, but defining them in those terms is odd. And he says same thing with the Pharisees, but no, that's not a correct correlation, because Episcopalians are not systematic drunkards, Baptists are not systematic adulterers, but Pharisees are systematic hypocrites. And the reason I say that is because of Pharisaism taught, or let's say, put it this way, practiced that they could be righteous before God, that they were the righteous ones. You remember Jesus in his parable about the Pharisee that went to the temple and prayed that he wasn't like other. Okay, well, that systematically produces hypocrites. If you're going to think that you're perfect, you're automatically going to be a hypocrite. So his comparison, this analogy that he came up with here, is inaccurate, because it is right to say that Pharisaism is synonymous with hypocrisy, because it's an idea that produces hypocrisy. I mean, I could say the same thing about Islam, the fact that humans are supposed to approach God in their own righteousness. This also produces hypocrites. Okay, another one of the recurring themes in not just the New Testament, but a lot of teaching companies' religious courses is this idea that Christianity had nothing to do, so to speak, with Judaism, and Judaism had nothing to do with Christianity. I don't mean in a historical sense, but in a philosophical sense, that they were always two different things, that either Jesus or Paul were starting something totally new, you'll hear this term, converts from Judaism. Well, Jews can't convert to Christianity because believing in Jesus is Jewish. That's what makes people Jewish. If a Jewish person believes in Jesus, then he's doing what he's supposed to do. If a Jewish person doesn't believe in Jesus, then he's no longer obeying Judaism. And this is an idea that has crept into society, culture, and even the church seems to treat these as they're two different religions. But that's not the way Jesus treated it. In the same way, there's always been two kinds of Jews. There's Jews of the promise, Jews who believe the promises like Abraham, and Jews who are just Jew by the flesh. And that's a distinction. And that distinction also is played out in, say, Jews who believe in Jesus. They would be the ones who would believe Abraham, according to Jesus, by the way. And Jews who don't believe in Jesus are the ones who wouldn't believe Abraham. And that's that simple. Okay, so here's some more from the New Testament. This is another recurring theme, the idea that there's legitimate Gnostic Gospels out there. The fascinating heart of this course is its exploration of the scriptures that were read and considered authoritative by these Christian sects. Many now are either known or believed to be pseudepigrapha forgeries written in the names of famous apostles. Whatever their origins, these documents can be viewed as lost versions of the New Testament. Why? Where's it coming from? They provide a fascinating opportunity to study little known and sometimes controversial scriptures that might have become part of the Bible. Well, no, that's not true. That's not even what could have happened, because they're so foreign to Jewish ideas. They were colored in all kinds of pagan ideas that they would never have been considered. So, and here to show you how bizarre these guys are thinking, he mentions a document is purported to be written by the twin brother of Jesus. Okay, so here this guy would actually consider that as legitimate. Well, what does that say? If Jesus had a twin brother, what does that say about every other historical document pertaining to Jesus? But this guy's willing to consider that as some kind of a legitimate. I mean, that's, like I said, it goes beyond just poor scholarship. It becomes deliberate deceit. I wanted to get into textual criticism. One of the things that in this course of New Testament that the professor points out is that there are rules of engagement for literature. I guess we call it hermeneutics. Textual criticism, there's rules of engagement. They include such things as looking for time indicators. In other words, if the Empire State Building was mentioned in a document, you would assume that it would be probably a 20th century document. At least, at the oldest, it wouldn't be from the 16th century, for instance. Well, another thing you do is you look for omissions, great omissions in things that are missing that you would expect to be in there if they're written at a time when or after these events happened. For instance, the destruction of the temple. You would, if that was mentioned, then you would expect the document to have happened after the destruction, unless, of course, it was mentioned in the context of a prophecy. Okay, now this is going to bring up another question, and I'm probably going to have to save that for the next lecture. But I will leave you with this, that none of the Gospels have mention of Pentecost, okay, which happened 50 days after Jesus rose from the dead. So, using the rules of the secular rules of textual criticism, how do we engage that text? We can therefore conclude that the Gospels were all written within 50 days of the resurrection of Christ. And I'm using the rules. And there's no reason not to believe that. You can't give me any good reason that couldn't happen. Can't people write things within 50 days of when they happen? I can write things immediately after they happen, certainly within 50 days. So that's not an unrealistic possibility. I'm going to talk more about this in the next lecture. Thank you. Bye.